Russell Wilson might be on the move to another team for the 2024 season. He was on the I Am Athlete podcast with Brandon Marshall, and he discussed how he wanted to win 2 more trophies in the next 5 years. The thing is, though, what he says may not come to pass. What happened with Russell Wilson? And where is he going to go? All that and more on a brand new episode of West Side Sports with your boy, Izzy P. Let's get to it.
Step in the room, let me know the same. I'm a Texas boy, but I'm from Eden. J-Man, well, with that boy Garden.
What is going on, YouTube? It's your boy, Izzy Phantasmo, and you are locked into a brand new episode of West Side Sports. Before we get into today's video, I would like to thank each and every single one of y'all out there that have been commenting, that have been liking, that have been watching, subscribing to the channel. Every single one of y'all are very much appreciated. I want to thank you for putting your attention and your time and your energy into this channel. None of this would be possible without you guys. So I'm opening the door. I'm inviting every single one of y'all out there who may be just running across one of the shorts that I've put out there or one of the videos, but y'all haven't subscribed yet. Y'all really haven't locked in with West Side Sports. Do me a favor. Go ahead and like them videos. Comment down below. Let me know what y'all want to talk about. Subscribe to the channel. Hit that notification button. Then that'll let you know whenever I drop a new video. And also, man, share this video with people that you know that love football, that love talking NFL football or college ball or whatever. This is open to anybody and everybody out there. Again, thank y'all so much for taking the time out of your day to watch this video, watch any of my videos, any of my shorts, and just to interact with this channel in any way, shape, form, or fashion. I appreciate y'all. I love y'all. But now let's get right into this video, man, because we're going to talk about it, man. Russell Wilson, the 9-time Pro Bowler, former Super Bowl champion, former Seattle Seahawk, and now possibly former Denver Bronco. There's been a lot going on with Russell Wilson. He entered the league in 2012. He played 9 seasons with the Seahawks. Had one heck of a career out there. And then in March of 2022, he joins the Denver Broncos. Only plays 2 years out of a 5-year deal. And now it looks like he's going to be on the move coming around this 2024 season. And the question is, though, I know a lot of people have been wondering, what's next for Russell Wilson? What happened with Russell Wilson? Why did things shape out the way they did? And what went wrong? Well, before we can talk about what happened in Denver, we're going to go back a bit, talk about Seattle, talk about how he was playing in Seattle, then what happened with the trade, and then we're going to jump right in to where he's at in Denver and what's going to happen next. So look, he played, again, 9 seasons in Seattle from 2012 to 2021. Now, ESPN says that he's played 10 seasons, but I'm only looking at 9 seasons because I counted them up. 9 seasons total. So what I ended up doing is I did some math. Numbers aren't my thing unless I'm counting money. You know, easy stuff. You got your 10s, your 5s, your 20s, your 100s. That's easy. But crunching numbers, decimals, and completion percentages and all that fun stuff, that's kind of hard. Especially when you have 9 seasons worth of numbers to crunch. But you know what, though? I did it for you guys. I crunched the numbers. I looked it up, did all the math stuff, and I got an average for his 9 seasons in Seattle. And they're pretty impressive if you ask me. He threw for 3,705 yards passing, 29 touchdowns to just 8 interceptions, a 64.9 completion percentage, a 102 rating, and a 66.2 QBR. Again, hella impressive. This man right here for 4 seasons, he threw for 4,000 yards. And in those 4 seasons where he threw for 4,000 yards, he threw for 30-plus touchdowns. Pretty much set himself as the franchise guy in Seattle for the longest time. But he didn't stay there for his entire career. Again, he only played until 2021, and in March of 2022, he ended up getting traded from Seattle to the Denver Broncos. And with the Broncos, that's a situation right there of itself because they brought in Nathaniel Hackett as the head coach. He was the former offensive coordinator and quarterbacks coach out in Green Bay. And the only reason that Denver went out of their way to bring in Nathaniel Hackett was because they were looking to bring in Aaron Rodgers. And Aaron Rodgers that was a whole conundrum of itself. Everybody was looking at Aaron Rodgers. They didn't know if he was going to stay in Green Bay, if he was going to retire. He ultimately, there would be some talks, but ultimately those talks would fall through. Aaron Rodgers would end up staying in Green Bay for one more season, and that would be the very last season he stayed in Green Bay. He would then go on to sign on with the New York Jets, and Nathaniel Hackett would actually follow Aaron Rodgers and go to New York as well. But we're not going to concern ourselves with all that. We're just going to concern ourselves with Denver and what they tried to do in bringing in Aaron Rodgers. Again, they brought in Nathaniel Hackett, quarterback coach, offensive coordinator out in Green Bay. They weren't able to land Aaron Rodgers, so they went with the next best guy out, and that was Russell Wilson. So they conducted a trade with the Seahawks, and the Seattle Seahawks ended up getting quite the haul for Russell Wilson. Denver would end up getting Russell Wilson and a 2022 fourth-round pick in that draft. Seattle would get quarterback Drew Lock, defensive tackle Shelby Harris, tight end Noah Fant, the 2022 first-round pick, second-round pick, and fifth-round pick from Denver, and then they would get the 2023 first-round pick and second-round pick from Denver. And if you look at how things kind of shaped out for both teams, Seattle, they have Geno Smith. He kind of became the predecessor to the Seattle offense. Of course, you got Drew Lock, who's number 2, who's quarterback, who's the backup behind Geno Smith. But Drew Lock did get to see some playing time when Geno Smith was out with injury against the Philadelphia Eagles. He did leave that game when he threw the touchdown pass to Jackson Smith and Jigba. A beautiful dot. One of the best games we've seen from Drew Lock in the last few years, that I would say. And overall, things kind of looked out pretty well. They looked pretty good for Seattle. But for Denver's side, not so much. Denver would go on in 2022. They would miss the postseason. And Russell Wilson would end up posting what I would say was one of his worst statistical outings of his entire career. He threw for 3,524 yards, 16 touchdowns to just 11 interceptions. He had a 60.5 completion percentage. He had an 84.4 rating and an abysmal 38.7 QBR. Bottom 5 QBR, along with the likes of Zach Wilson, Mac Jones, Baker Mayfield. I won't get into the whole Baker Mayfield situation because that was an unfair situation of itself. But to be put in that kind of predicament, especially with the fact that Russell Wilson was traded there before the draft, he was able to go to OTAs and training camp, and he was able to spend that time with the team, but he just wasn't able to really get things clicking on offense. It was just an overall mess of a year. So Nathaniel Hackett ends up leaving Denver the following year in 2023. Like I said, he would go to New York to be with the Jets and to run with Aaron Rodgers. And the Denver Broncos would make a head coaching move that would shock the league as a whole. They would formulate a trade with the New Orleans Saints and go and grab Sean Payton. And in turn, you would think right there that Sean Payton and Russell Wilson were going to formulate, and they were going to come together, and they were going to be a contender in the AFC West. Possibly a contender in the AFC as a whole. But that didn't really pan out as well. Although the touchdown to interception ratio, the completion percentage, the rating, and the QBR would all dramatically improve, the yards passing wise would actually take a hit. So in 2023, Russell Wilson would throw for only 3,070 yards passing, 26 touchdowns to 8 interceptions, a 66.4 completion percentage, a 98 rating, and a 50.7 QBR. Again, touchdowns to interception, all improved. The completion percentage improved. The rating and the QBR improved. The only thing he took a hit on was the yards passing. And you would look at the stat line and you would say the Denver Broncos would have had a successful season. And in some regards, yeah, they had a better season than what they had previous year. But there was a lot of speculation that there was some sort of discontent within the locker room, primarily between Russell Wilson and Sean Payton. There were moments where you saw Sean Payton going after Russell Wilson on the sidelines, and it just seemed like odd to see the head coach kind of going after Russell in situations that technically didn't really need to go after him for. It would then later on come out via reports by The Athletic, by ESPN, and even Russell Wilson will talk about it later on during the offseason on the I Am Athlete podcast with Brandon Marshall, where the Denver Broncos would approach Russell Wilson and they would want him to remove a specific part of his contract, all in the name of trying to save money. And that part that they were trying to have him remove was his injury clause, where basically if he got hurt during the year, he was going to be guaranteed a set amount of money right then and there. And the thing is, the Denver Broncos didn't want to guarantee that money. So they were trying to get him to pretty much annul that entire part of his contract altogether. And they basically came up to Russell and they said, if you do not relinquish, if you do not annul that injury clause out of your contract, we're going to go ahead and bench you for the rest of the season. Now, mind you, Russell Wilson, like I said, he was talking about this. He said there was 9 games left in the season when the Denver Broncos first approached him. They had just beaten the Packers. They had just beaten the Chiefs. They had a Monday night game coming up against the Bills. And in all this time, it was pretty much a stalemate, because once Russell Wilson was approached by this, he went to his team. His team went to the NFLPA and the NFL, and everybody agreed what the Denver Broncos were trying to do was illegal. So now you have a stalemate. You don't know who's going to make the first move. Well, the week of the Buffalo Bills Monday night game, Sean Payton brings Russell Wilson into his office and basically tells him to forget about the entire thing. Forget that it even happened. And, they were going to play him for that game. And, of course, he did play. He played all the way up until the last few weeks of the season, where he would end up being benched for their backup quarterback. And in turn, that would be the end of Russell Wilson's season in Denver. And now, reports are saying that Denver could possibly be moving on from Russell Wilson as a whole. And if that's the case, there are a couple of teams that are looking at Russell Wilson like he could be the next guy up and be their QB1. Russell Wilson was reported to say that he would take a vet minimum just to be a starter elsewhere next season. And the Steelers, they're looking at him possibly to be the next guy up, because if you look at their roster, the only quarterback that they have on their roster right now is none other than Kenny Pickett. Mitchell Trubisky and Mason Rudolph are both free agents heading into the offseason, and it's highly unlikely that either one of them or both of them might be coming back onto the team. But then again, though, we haven't even touched the negotiation part of the free agency yet. Free agency doesn't start for like a week and a half, so we won't know exactly who goes where and what happens. But with all that being said, the Steelers could make a run at Russell Wilson, possibly the Vikings, the Falcons, maybe Chicago, because we all know that Justin Fields is probably going to get moved. So there's a lot of different landing spots for Russell Wilson going forward. And if you followed one of my shorts, you probably saw where he could make a move and go to Pittsburgh, maybe win 1 or 2 more Super Bowls, because he did state also on the I Am Athlete podcast that he wants to win 2 more Super Bowls in the next 5 years. He wants to finish out his career in Denver, but that may not happen. So we're just going to think about it for a second. We're just thinking about, like, where could he go that he has the best chance to finish out his season or finish out his career with 2 to 3 Super Bowls underneath his belt. First, you got the Steelers. They have probably one of the better defensive units. They have a solid defense. The only offensive weapons that they have right now, Pickens and Najee Harris. There you go, Najee Harris, George Pickens. Those are the only 2 that I could think of. Oh, and Pat Fryermuth. There it is. See, my brain is thinking. So yeah, I could see possibly the Steelers making a move. Have like a miniature quarterback battle, but ultimately give the job over to Russell Wilson so he could lead the Steelers. And this would be in a very loaded AFC North. So this would be prime competition and prime opportunity for Russell Wilson to prove that he really belongs in the AFC. Proves that what happened in Denver wasn't his fault, and that he has the ability to lead a team into a playoff position, but not only a playoff position, but possibly into a Super Bowl position. Do I think that'll happen with the currently constructed Pittsburgh Steelers team? I don't see it, but look, anything is possible. You got the Atlanta Falcons, you got the Minnesota Vikings, Tampa Bay, possibly, if they don't figure out what's going on with Baker Mayfield, but I'll expect them to get that figured out and quick. Possibly the Washington Commanders can make a move. There's going to be a plethora. Oh, the New England Patriots. They're going to be looking for a quarterback soon. So there's a plethora of teams that I could see going after Russell Wilson, plugging him into the system, and possibly making their team better on that front. But I want to hear from you down below in the comment section. Where do y'all think Russell Wilson's going to go? What do you think he's going to do when he gets that chance? Do you think he's going to win 1 to 2 more Super Bowls? Do you think he's past his prime and that he should just go ahead and, retire and move on from there? Do you think he has it in him to have one more successful season elsewhere? Or do you think him and Denver should try and hash things out? See if they can make things happen and work out, just for one more year. Honestly, I'm interested to see how all this plays out. That's just me. With all that being said, that's your boy, Westside Izzy P, Izzy Phantasmo. This has been another episode of Westside Sports. Thank you so much for watching. I will catch y'all later on. Peace.
No, I can't go back. Tryna live my old ways. You can keep that back. It's only physical.